What if I told you the janitor cleaning this building wasn't just an employee? She didn't wear a suit. She didn't sit in meetings. She didn't speak much at all. For 15 years, she mopped the floors after everyone went home. Executives stepped over her. Interns ignored her. And the CEO treated her like she didn't exist. Until one morning, everything stopped. In a packed boardroom filled with powerful people, the janitor calmly looked at the CEO and said, "Your services are no longer needed here." Laughter followed until silence hit, because the woman holding the mop owned the company. For 15 years, they laughed past her, blamed her, and disrespected her, never realizing she was watching everything. This is the unbelievable story of how a black janitor fired a CEO after 15 years and taught everyone a lesson they'll never forget. No one in that building believed their ears when the janitor finally spoke. The sound of her voice cut through the large boardroom like a knife. Calm, clear, unshaken. The same woman who had spent years mopping floors, emptying trash bins, and wiping fingerprints off glass walls looked straight at the CEO and said, "Your services are no longer needed here." For a moment, nobody breathed. Gasps rippled across the room. Executives stared at one another in disbelief. Interns froze where they stood, unsure if this was some kind of joke. A few people even laughed nervously. The CEO chuckled too, at first. But the laughter died the second he saw her face. She wasn't joking. Her name was Evelyn Carter, and for 15 years, she had blended into the background of that company like wallpaper. Everyone knew her as the quiet black janitor on the night shift. She came in after everyone else left. She cleaned conference rooms where million-dollar deals were made. She polished desks belonging to people who never once learned her name. Evelyn worked silently. She didn't complain, didn't argue, didn't defend herself when ignored or disrespected. People assumed she was invisible. They assumed wrong. What no one in that building knew, what not a single executive had ever imagined, was that Evelyn wasn't just an employee. She owned the company. Her name sat quietly on documents buried deep in legal files. Her signature had more power than every person in that room combined. And on that day, standing tall at the head of the table, Evelyn decided she was done being silent, done being unseen, done pretending she didn't matter. The janitor wasn't just speaking. She was taking back what had always been hers. And the building would never be the same again. 15 years earlier, Evelyn Carter wasn't carrying cleaning supplies through empty hallways. She was carrying a briefcase. Back then, she walked into boardrooms with confidence, standing beside her father, a self-made businessman who had built the company from the ground up. He believed in discipline, fairness, and never forgetting where you came from. Everyone respected him. Evelyn learned everything from him. When he passed away, ownership of the company transferred to her. She became the majority shareholder, legally and undeniably in control. But power on paper doesn't always mean power in reality. The board members didn't trust her. They smiled politely, shook her hand, and praised her father. But their eyes told a different story. Too young, too quiet, too black, too female. No one said the words openly, but Evelyn heard them anyway. They suggested a temporary CEO to help guide the company while she learned the ropes. They told her it was for her own good, that it was just business. Evelyn agreed, but not for the reason they thought. Instead of fighting them, she stepped back and made a bold decision that shocked even her closest friends. She chose to learn the company from the inside, from the bottom, under a different last name. Evelyn applied for a janitor's job. No special treatment, no recognition, just a uniform and a mop. And for 15 long years, she watched. She paid attention to who treated her kindly without knowing who she was. She noticed who ignored her presence completely. And she took careful note of who abused power when they thought no one important was listening, especially the man they called CEO. Every hallway, every office, every conversation overheard became a lesson. Evelyn wasn't hiding. She was studying. Richard Hale loved power more than anything. He loved the way people lowered their voices when he walked into a room. He loved making decisions that affected hundreds of lives without losing a single minute of sleep. And most of all, he loved reminding people exactly where they stood. especially those he believed were beneath him. He mocked low-level employees during meetings. He cut wages while approving massive bonuses for himself and his inner circle. Complaints disappeared. Good workers were quietly let go. And Evelyn, he treated her like she was nothing. He snapped his fingers to get her attention, called her "Hey you" instead of her name. Once, when she accidentally entered a room too early, he said, "People like you should be grateful to work here." Evelyn lowered her eyes and apologized, but she never forgot. Night after night, she cleaned offices filled with carelessly discarded documents, financial reports left on desks, confidential emails glowing on unlocked computers, conversations executives thought no one else could hear. And slowly, a disturbing picture formed. Richard Hale wasn't just a bad leader. He was destroying the company. Illegal deals, hidden accounts, favoritism that crippled departments, decisions that hurt honest employees while protecting corrupt ones. The board trusted him blindly because he looked the part, spoke confidently, wore expensive suits. No one questioned him. After all, power looked like Richard, and power didn't look like a woman pushing a cleaning cart down the hallway. Or so they believed. The emergency board meeting was announced with little warning. Whispers filled the building, lawsuits, losses, rumors of a possible collapse. Everyone felt it. Something was wrong. Richard Hale walked in confident as ever, preparing his usual performance. He planned to shift blame, distract with numbers, and walk out untouched. Then the door opened. Evelyn stepped inside, not wearing her janitor uniform, but a tailored suit. Calm posture, clear eyes. The room went silent. She walked to the front and spoke evenly. "Good morning. My name is Evelyn Carter, majority shareholder and owner of this company." No one moved. Faces drained of color. Mouths opened, then closed again. She pressed a button on a remote. Screens lit up. Emails, bank transfers, recordings, signed documents. 15 years of proof. She turned to Richard. "You fired loyal employees. You stole from this company. You broke the law," she said calmly. "Effective immediately, you're fired." The man who once laughed at her couldn't speak. Security approached. Richard protested weakly, but no one helped him. He was escorted out. The power in the room shifted instantly. The janitor hadn't just exposed the truth. She had ended a reign built on cruelty and arrogance. Evelyn didn't celebrate. She didn't smile. She simply looked around the room and said words that haunted everyone who heard them. "I didn't hide because I was weak. I hid because I needed to see who you truly were when you thought no one important was watching." In the weeks that followed, everything changed. Employees who had worked hard for years were promoted. Wages were raised. Policies were rewritten. Favoritism ended. Respect became the standard, not the reward. Evelyn personally sought out people she had once cleaned beside, people who had spoken kindly to her without knowing who she was. Some employees later admitted something uncomfortable. They had ignored her, looked past her, disrespected her because they thought she was nothing. They were wrong. Never underestimate the quiet person in the room. Never judge someone by their job. And never assume power looks the way you expect. Because sometimes, the janitor owns the building. Stories like this remind us of one powerful truth. Never judge someone by their job, their clothes, or how quiet they are. You never know who's watching, and you never know who truly holds the power. If this story surprised you, inspired you, or made you think twice, hit the like button so more people can hear it. And if you love real-life stories with justice, twists, and powerful lessons, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because the next story might change the way you see the world. And trust me, you won't want to miss it. Bellfire.